TGO, Tom Gruenwald Outdoors, is brought to you by HT, premium ice tackle since 1974. Polar Fire Gear, this is how it's done. Tourism Saskatchewan, Canada's best freshwater fishing. Vexilar, ice fishing begins when you turn your Vexilar on. Kalispell, Montana, discovery in every direction. And these other fine sponsors.
Hello everyone and welcome to Tom Gruenwald Outdoors. I'm Tom Gruenwald and today we're going to be fishing in the beautiful Kalispell, Montana area. We're out in western Montana in the middle of the Rocky Mountains. I'll tell you what, this is just so much fun. The conditions could change so quickly out here. You come out in 1 minute, you got bright sunlight and you can see right across the foothills and the mountains and the ranges. You can see the snow coming at you and boom, all of a sudden the conditions change to this. In many ways, the area reminds me a lot of the Canadian Shield lakes that we fish for lake trout. We've got the big rocky outcroppings and the steep shorelines, and it's just classic lake trout area. So that's exactly what we're here in Kalispell to do today, is to try to fish lake trout. I got hooked up with my good friend Mike Howe from A. Abel Charters and Howe's Fishing. He's right from this Kalispell area. Guides out here, knows these waters really well. We've got Pete Jeller from Pete's Custom Tackle. We've also got Clay Anderson, one of Mike's associates, that is going to be out helping us today. And he's got a little network of a few people that are running around trying to see if they can find fish on some of the different spots that we have out here. And we've got right here now is a sharp drop-off that goes from maybe 20, 30 feet right on out to 110s. It's a classic lake trout spot, steep wall, but we also have a little bit of a point that comes out from the shoreline here. It's really the only anomaly on this entire shoreline that runs for 5 or 6 miles. What we're going to do is just drill this series of holes and start working these lake trout. Now we've got a couple of different systems. We're going to be using some of the Big Eye spinning combos with classic tube jigs. We've also got some Laker Pro sticks set up with spinning reels, also with some little bait cast reels, braided lines. We can get some better hook sets, don't have quite as much stretch involved. And we're going to see if we can catch and hook up with a few of these lake trout. Now, a lot of these fish actually will run in that 4, 5, 6 pound range. One of the reasons maybe that you don't see as many large fish is they're not so much feeding on the Cisco and the whitefish and so forth that you see on the glacial shield. They're actually feeding on a species of freshwater shrimp. That's right. There are species of freshwater shrimp. They're called mysis, and they've been introduced in some of these lakes, and that is really one of the primary forage bases to support these lake trout. So consequently, we use a lot of plastic twist tails and different kinds of baits, tube jigs, and a lot of the classic baits will work well, small spoons. There's all kinds of stuff that we can try. Pinks, chartreuses, anything that might look like a big juicy freshwater shrimp. So hey, join us here today as we fish in Kalispell, Montana, see if we can hook up with a few lake trout right here on TGO. All right, where should we start drilling here, Mike?
Well, you can see the big bluff here above us, Tom. We've got a good steep drop off here with some benches. So what we'll do is we'll drill a line of holes out, try and figure out where they're hanging. Then we'll start running holes perpendicular to this so that we can just keep working the structure, not only out deeper, but along that line as well.
We drilled several sets of holes, working an area from about 45 feet down to about 65 feet. There were some whitefish over here the other day, Mike said, but I've fished several holes now, haven't marked anything yet. Time to move. All right, so Sarah's gonna show us how to do it now. Whoa, whoa, not only Sure, hold it up and show everybody.
Grab it. There you go.
Now I gotta let everybody know, Sarah is Chancey's wife. And we're sitting down and having supper the other night. And I said, you should really come out here because she enjoys fishing too. So I really appreciate you coming out. Nice job.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm so excited.
How'd that feel?
That was awesome. I was a little scared I was going to lose it, but I got it.
All right. Oh, that's beautiful, beautiful fish. You want to let this one go, Sarah?
Sure.
Okay. Ready? Just let her turn her head in there. A little air, and when she's ready, she'll go.
You're watching TGO, Tom Gruenwald Outdoors.
Just a couple of things that I always do when I come out and I do this lake trout thing. As soon as I get the bait down, first thing I'm going to check is my drag. I want to make sure that I've got it tight enough that I'll be able to get a good solid hook set on that big fish in deep water. And at the same time, make sure there's enough give that if that fish makes a hard run, I don't have to worry about breaking my line. Secondly, always secure that reel nice and tightly on the reel seat. Make sure that's ready to go. And finally, I'll just turn the gain up on my sonar just a little bit. I want to make sure that I can maintain contact with that tube jig at all times and see that bait down there without turning it up too high, of course, and getting any interference. Then I'm set to go. Oh, fish on. He's putting up a little tussle. Once he saw the light up here, got close to the hole, and he decided he wanted to go. Oh, I haven't seen him yet, have you?
No,
No.
he's over there.
Yeah. How deep were you here? You're up a little shallower.
62 feet.
Yep.
Okay,
There's a leader.
Yep.
Yep.
Swivel.
leader.
Some
There he is.
bubbles,
Oh, he's a
some
nice
bubbles.
fish.
There you go. Oh, yeah. There you go. Nice
grab
and
him.
easy. Just turn his head. Take it easy.
Oh yeah, there he goes. He saw me.
He's gonna take you down the hole, Clay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's your swivel.
Oh, the spunk in him. Oh yeah.
I love lake trout on light tackle, Tom.
Oh, isn't that fun?
I love it.
Nothing better. They just go so crazy when they get right by the hole.
Yeah.
They start doing the circle thing and diving.
That's why it's important to use a good swivel, good leader, good line, you know, have a good drag on your reel. These are awesome eating fish too, because these fish are feeding on the mysis shrimp that we talked about as well with the kokanee. And these are just a orange fleshed lake trout. Excellent on the grill, smoked, and just a lot of fun to catch and let go too. So we got them year in and year out.
Just tighten it out.
There he is. That's going to be a two and a quarter pound fish right there.
Nice fish.
That's fun.
Perfect.
Right, put up a fight. Nice job, Clay. Way to go.
Yeah.
Now that
a
one
fish.
came up and hit one of the tubes.
Yeah.
What do you got that tipped with?
I got a quad tail, Mr. Twister with a glow in the dark jig head at 3/8 ounce. There we go. And the green bait we're using is out of Snappy Sports Center.
Okay.
We use it year round for the lake trout. This is a northern pike minnow. I'm absolutely obsessed with the belly meat of a northern pike minnow. The belly of it actually has a little bit softer and smoother skin to it, and it actually can flow through the water in kind of more of a smoother.
Yeah,
So
like
you get
a
a nice
flutter.
gliding
nice
motion
flutter.
as you work it. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
there you go.
I cut it in a triangle so it actually can have a little whiptail on it with another action of whiptails on top of it.
So, Tom, you'll notice that these fish are a lot lighter than some of the Canadian Shield Lakers that really get those browns and golds. Now, we've got a lake just north of here that you'll catch lake trout out of there, and they look like those dark Canadian. It's just a rock lake surrounded by fir trees, so you get those tannins from the evergreen trees, and those fish are almost black in color. But most of the lake trout that you'll catch out of Flathead Lake, Whitefish Lake, Spar Lake, up in the park are going to be these lighter colored fish. Still just as pretty in my book.
Oh, absolutely. Well, let's let this one go. There you go. Nice
right.
job. Way to start us off, Clay.
All right,
All right, man.
good job, good job.
There's more fishing action to come right here on TGO.
Fish. Leader. Of course, I'm taking a look at my transducer cable here. No, it's a nice lake trout. There we go. Oh, I'm telling you, fishing in the mountains for lake trout, there's nothing wrong with this. This is fun. It's just so much different than what I'm used to. I'm accustomed to fishing for those Canadian shield fish where we're working big spoons and tubes in really deep water frequently. And here, these fish are running about 3, 4, 5 pounds like this. And you gotta kind of finesse them, you gotta play them. It's almost like jigging panfish. You kind of work right down at the bottom because they're down feeding on those shrimp. And I just take my jig and just kind of learn, you just kind of jiggle and just work it and shimmy that bait upward and let them come and hit it. I've had a couple of that came in real hot and aggressive and slammed the lure, but by and large, most of them, it's been a finesse bite for sure. Mountain trout. Beautiful. I'll let this one go. Wonderful. Well, I wanted to show you the system that I'm using here. We came out to a little deeper water. We're running between 70 and 90. And I've got a Laker Pro rod here. This is a 38-inch medium heavy, so it's a pretty stout backboned rod. Yeah, a little bit of flexibility at the tip. You know, we've talked about this before when you're fishing these lake trout. A lot of times they'll make hard runs upward. You want to try to make sure you can keep pressure on them. You don't want an overly stiff rod. And on this, despite the fact this is actually designed as a spinning rod, I've put a little bait cast reel on here. I've got that HT5500 on there, and this is spooled up. Mike got this all set up with braided line. And the advantage of the braid is that it doesn't stretch. So when we're fishing in this deeper water, if I'm using monofilament, especially with the more flexible rod, I've really got to set the hook hard to try to get that hook to stick in these lake trout. Now, by using that braided line, I don't have that line stretch. I can get the hook set a lot more efficiently, and I can also get away with that little more limber rod tip. So it's a good combination. And I've got a jig on here with a plastic double tail, and we were using some chartreuse and some lighter colored tippers earlier, and we switched over here. Mike gave me one that's more of a brownish color, and boy, I tell you what, since I switched over to the darker color, I've definitely been getting more hits. And you can see the bait there. Again, brown, there's some black and green metal flake. They really like green. The glow head certainly helps, glow tip. And then we've got that little piece of cut belly from the northern pike minnow that Mike caught. So, you know, there's definitely a different technique to this. These fish aren't feeding so much on the Cisco and so forth up high. So there's a little more of a finesse tactic to this, Mike. Can you kind of show me how that works?
A lot of times we go right to the bottom first versus getting to 20 feet and then starting to work our way down. These fish are primarily feeding on the bottom. So we'll go right to the bottom and then we'll just kind of start pumping the rod tip slightly, you know, as we lift up.
Yep.
And then I'll pick up my line so I'm not dropping the lure down again. And then I'm gonna do it again. And usually in this rocky area, you know, I've got to get 6 feet or so off the bottom before I even see it on the sonar.
Sure.
And you know, I'm making that curly tail move, making that grub move. We're not doing big pumps. You know, every now and then we'll do an aggressive drop and then come right back to just shaking that rod tip and lifting it up. The fish are primarily feeding on the bottom. We gotta get them, we have to make them aggressive when they're passive like this. So We're just teasing them. We're telling them, you know, you can't catch me.
Well, let's see if we can put some of these tactics to work and make
Sounds
it go.
Good.
Fish on. What did he hit, Mike?
I've got a kind of one of those PK spoons. It's the long, thinner spoon. Couple of wax worms. He come up, you know, what we've been looking for, Tom. He come up off the bottom hard on the drop.
Nice.
Which is what we've been, you know, looking to find some of these more active fish.
Definitely got a little more active. I don't know, some days the weather works in your favor sometimes it doesn't, but today it seems like it's working for us.
Yeah, I mean, these fish are here. We know this is good classic lake trout country. You know, we know these fish are here. There's, you know, there's a lot of forage. There's a lot of stuff for these guys to eat. Not only do you got to get the right attitude, here's
There's
a
your leader, yeah.
Not only do you got to get the right attitude, but
I haven't seen him, but I know you're close.
yeah, we got leader. We got about
Leader's
10
all the way
feet
up
of
to the
leader.
reel, yeah. There you go.
There he is.
Yeah. Easy fish, easy. Wants to turn here on me.
There we go. That's a decent fish. Good
Nice
boy.
job. You had to work for that one.
He was hooked pretty good.
Oh, that's
But,
fun.
Yeah, that's a nice fish. We
Rinse them off here.
you know, we'll take those fish any day of the week. Got that good wet snow here. But
There's your fish,
yeah,
Mike.
we'll take these fish any day of the week.
Beautiful, Mike.
Get this guy back
Yeah,
in the
let's
water.
let that one go.
And maybe they're going to turn on here and we'll get a few more.
Let's hope so.
Beautiful fish. These are tough fish. They live in a tough environment.
It's not like we're bringing them up from 150 or 200
No.
feet of water,
No,
so
not
that
at
helps a
all.
lot.
Yeah, okay.
Well, hey.
Got one,
Nice
Tom.
job. Way to go, Mike.
More fishing action online at tgofishing.com. Let's find out how it's done with a TGO tackle tip from Tom.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, I wasn't sure what this weather was going to do, but the weather's really brought the action. The fish are just
Yeah.
going crazy all of a sudden.
Yeah, they are.
Pete, I really like your lure design. I like the droppers. You know, it's not just effective for kokanee and panfish. Obviously, it works when you get a tentative bite with the lake trout. And that chain, I think, not only does it make that bait move toward the fish's mouth if they bite a little lighter, you also get flash and, in this case, maybe even a little bit of rattle. Sometimes those beads, I would bet, bang up against the body of the lure. So a lot of advantages to that. This is a really nice bait, Pete. I love the design. Fish. Fish on! Woo! I just had one a little while ago that hit, and I was actually holding on. The braided line is sliding a little bit on the bait cast reel there, and rod came right out of my hand. This time I was ready, and now actually they're biting a little bit better. You still see I'm catching those fish right in the lip here. They haven't been very aggressive. They've been very tentative and just biting lightly. And I think a few of these hits I've had where I'm missing the fish has simply been I'm probably just catching them right up by the lip, and the hook's actually coming loose. This one here actually took it down a little, so I got a good hook set. There it is, another beautiful Montana lake trout. Boy, these are fun. These are really fun. They're just strong. They're not super big fish. Most of them here, like this one here, is probably, oh, I'm gonna guess that's maybe a 2-3 pounder. But they're just absolutely super strong fighters. Lots of fun to catch. We get this one back in. Best thing to do with these fish after you've had them out a little while is just let them sit. A lot of people like to pull the fish back and forth thinking that they're helping put air across the gills. You're really not. You're better off let the fish take the water in through their mouth and exhale through the gills, and then they'll get all set to go. They'll be ready to take off on their own. Ready to go, girl? Another Montana lake trout. Wow, what an exceptional day. We're out here on Whitefish Lake near Kalispell, Montana. Beautiful mountain ranges and a big mountain here in the background, gorgeous. We come off of the launch, it's sunny and just absolutely beautiful. You could see for miles. Get out here, start drilling our holes and setting up, and all of a sudden you can see this line of white coming across the lake toward us. Rocky Mountain weather hit. But you know what? At the same time, the lake trout started to hit too, so I have no problem with that. You never know what the weather's going to do. Sometimes it turns these fish on, gets things going, sometimes it shuts it off. Not the case today. Quite a few lake trout, most of them running in that 2 to 5 pound range. perfect size fish for lots of action. A lot of fun. Came out here, drilled holes. We were catching fish all the way from 30 feet of water right on out to about 90. It was just a matter of getting those jigs down there, getting the lures down when those schools or when those fish were coming through and picking up the fish. Lots and lots of fun. I love fishing out here. I love the mountains. This has been just a fantastic time. I want to thank Mike Howe from House Fishing and A. Able Charters, Chancey coming out here with his wife Sarah from Snappy's, Pete from Pete's Custom Lures. It's just been a lot of fun. Great group of people and great action here in Montana. And we're going to have more great action right here again next time on TGO, where it's all ice fishing all the time.
TGO has been brought to you by HT, premium ice tackle since 1974. Polar Fire Gear, this is how it's done. Tourism Saskatchewan, Canada's best freshwater fishing. Vexilar, ice fishing begins when you turn your Vexilar on. Kalispell, Montana, discovery in every direction. And these other fine sponsors. TGO, where it's all ice fishing all the time.